The second meeting of Mapping a Generation in Transition took place in Berlin. Divided between the Eastern and Western Bloc, the city had been a symbol of a Cold War, and in 1989 likewise became a symbol of its end, when pictures of people literally tearing down the wall went around the world. After raising the first questions on transition and its repercussions on the different Eastern European states in Sofia this spring, we tried to find out more about each country's circumstances. This time we were driven by these questions. What kind of impacts had the time of change on the way the generation of transition thinks and acts today? Is there a grand narrative on that time? How do people deal with their history? Naturally, transition is a process. A political, cultural, social and psychological process, and it is still going on. In terms of starting points and styles, we face very different transition periods in Russia, Ukraine, Germany, Bulgaria as well as Croatia. But there are some similarities the group can distinguish. For most of the project-involved states, transition and change started in the 80s. In all countries, people experienced an unfair redistribution of wealth. Loss of trust increased as a result of disenchantment. Many migrated westwards, which resulted in significant brain drain. People tend to sentimentally remember communism as the time when we were all equal. To find out more about the change in East Germany, we attended a guided city tour through the East Berlin transition hotspots, which are visible everywhere in the center of Berlin-Mitte.
In some years it will happen that Berlin became the old and new capital of Germany in the early 90s. Thousands of new jobs, governmental jobs, were established here in the city center. I mean, in case of investment, totally attractive. The people that came, they brought their own way of life, connected to belief or consumership. We need supermarkets with organic food. Just people, they are familiar with this. They say, in Munich or Hamburg, of course we have it, and I'd like to have it here.
The story of Germany's transition differs enormously from other East European states. Initially, the East German opposition leaders who had been driving the change fought for a democratic alternative for the GDR. Imagine it's socialism and no one leaves, said famous author Christa Wolf only days before the fall of the wall in November 1989 to a crowd in Berlin. They missed the point. East Germans wanted to travel, have Deutschmark and voted to become part of West Germany. Within less than a year, the formal transition process in East Germany was completed. The narrative of brotherhood changed from Russia to the US. In 1990, the monetary union marked the biggest economic change. Also law, institutions and a whole economy system were rapidly implemented into the West German system. But for the people it took way longer to arrange themselves with the new reality. Women stopped having children for almost a decade. Questions of land ownership forced thousands of people to move out from what they had considered their property. Due to massive unemployment, a huge work migration to the west started, leaving the affected regions even more neglected. The main narrative of German reunification tells a peaceful, powerful story of success. But in the post-communistic federal states, there is nostalgia and a lethargy regarding the democratic willpower to change things. The majority in East Germany still considers the reunification more like an add-on or a takeover than a negotiation on the same eye level. But the story about the change was and is been told by people from West Germany, something the Third Perspective as one of our cooperation partners is about to change. Founded in 2010 by men and women born in East and West Germany in the years around 1980, the association is an independent and self-organized initiative. They responded to the growing deadlock in discourses relating to East and West Germany and seek to promote more nuanced debates on the recent history and contemporary reality. October 2015 marks the 25th anniversary of German reunification, a process which continues into the present day on diverse levels. The Third Perspective organizes various cultural and academic events. Der dritte Blick, The Third View, is an exhibition about East German photographers and their work. Was it somehow coincidence that our first public panel discussion happened to be on the 3rd of October, the official public holiday of reunification in Germany? It is the day when in 1990 East Germany officially joined the Constitution of the Federal Republic. But for most Germans, the day which is emotionally connected to the reunification is the 9th of November, when the war was opened. Sometimes there are black spots in our knowledge when we try to reshape our past, but the fact that we don't remember is also a fact. The dialogue between the native narratives about the different phases of transition opens new perspectives and understanding. In times of European changes, it is as necessary to look back as to look into the future and to learn from our history.